This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago.
This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago. Coming from the 606 Media Studios, this is the TCSF podcast with Big Z, featuring E-Rock, the old JC Dynasty Fantasy Football, and that's about it today. No Stevie B this week. Episode 216 is brought to you by 606 Media, True Chicago sports fans, and Great Clothing Company. Don't forget to go to greatclothingco.com and get your official TCSF podcast t-shirt. Search for keyword True Chicago and use our promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off your entire order. That is TrueFan15, and get your shirts now. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or the X, hit that subscribe button. If you're on their favorite podcast app, remember to give us a 5-star review, and it'll shoot us on the chart. Remember, you can support the show with a monthly subscription at anchor.fm/True Chicago Sports Fans. Over there and click on the support button and subscribe for as little as 99 cents a month. And if you haven't done so, you go ahead and subscribe to the other podcasts we have on the 606 Media lineup in Podscape with Big Z and No Water on the Weekend. Go over there on our YouTube channels and subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. It'll just give you notifications when the new episodes pop up. Well, without further delay, episode. Am I still getting feedback, or is it just me?
I got nothing.
Just me. Episode 260, a rout in London. In this live episode, me and the boys are going to talk about the Bears 35-16 win over the Jacksonville Jaguars in our 3 and Out segment. And without further ado, let's hit the sounder for 3 and Out so we can get started with our Bears. Oh boy, there it is. Boom, baby, boom. The Chicago Bears showed up in London and put a spanking, gave them teas and crumpets all over the Jacksonville Jaguars. And let me just say, it was a complete game from start to finish. I know we started a little bit rough, but the boys ended up making a great effort and getting turnovers. Caleb looked great. The wide receivers got receptions. The running back popped off a little bit. The offensive line looked great. And at the end of the day, watching football at 8:30 in the morning wasn't so bad, was it, boys?
I spent both days, Saturday and Sunday, waking up at 5:30 in the morning to leave at 6 to be at Huntley by 7 a.m. for warm-ups, 8 a.m. games. So, yeah, I literally watched Bears. Well, I listened to Bears radio with the earbud and watched home. So, yeah, there was a lot of plays that I didn't see live. But that Cole Kmet, I had a buddy of mine who was dad on the team. He's actually a former MLB player. If you remember, Jody Garrett played for the Indians, the Cubs a little bit. He's a really cool guy. He was like, yo, you got to watch this. So he literally got up and showed me he rewound it because he's watching on his phone. He rewound it and showed me that Cole Kmet where he's pirouetting away from the defender and slam dunking into the end zone for that one. But yeah, overall, I mean, there's no realm in any dimension of the universe where Cole Kmet is not the most valuable player of that game. After the injury to the long snapper, him coming in and being the backup long snapper, because you got to remember that Patrick Scales is their regular snapper, and he's out with an injury. I think he had a knee. So Cole Kmet getting the double check this week, getting a touchdown, no time to celebrate, immediately going out there and snapping the ball for your kicks. Look, I think beginning of the season, we talked a lot about Cole Kmet not getting targets, not being used properly with Shane Waldron, not just not using him after we know what he is kind of turned into for the Bears. And he was extremely impressive what he was able to do this week. Hitting the home runs over there in London in the end zone. And then, like I said, going right back out there and snapping the ball, spreading the ball around. I'll tell you right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players with a reception. I think they have Gerald Everett on here as well for some reason, but I don't see. Maybe he had a target. But look, Cole Kmet
he had one target.
Yeah, Cole Kmet and Keenan Allen both with 5 receptions. Keenan Allen with his 2 touchdowns, his first as a Bear and his second as a Bear. We were talking a little bit before we went live. You never know week to week who's gonna snap. That is the beauty of this receiving core. We saw Keenan Allen this week with his 2 tutties. We saw Cole Kmet this week with his 2. Last week it was DJ. The week it was a week before 2 weeks ago. We saw Robert Dunze with his 100 yards.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful thing in the city on the team where Musa Muhammad said wide receivers go to die. When you have a rookie quarterback who's doing the things that he can do and able to spread the ball around and get it to these guys, we have never had a receiving core like this. It's arguably the best in football. I said arguably because I don't want to call them that because there is a couple of other ones out there. But to see a Bears offense running on all cylinders and actually complementing the defense, not winning despite the offense, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I definitely see that. It was more of a complete game where we were talking about the offense actually helping out the defense. You got DeAndre Swift with 17 carries for 91 yards. That's what we're looking for. Try to get to the 100-yard mark. He also had a touchdown, average 5.4 yards. Caleb Williams had a couple impressive yards, 4 for 56 with 14 yards average. Roschon Johnson did 5 for 8. I wish he got a couple more touches because I want him because he's a bruiser. But I can't be picky when the offense was clicking. The offensive line held its own. Cole Kmet 5 for 70. Keenan Allen 5 for 41. Dunze for 2 for 40. Swift for 4 for 28. Roschon Johnson 2 for 25. DJ Moore 4 for 20. Again, we had a lot of offensive output by the entire team. And it looks like Shane Waldron has got his sea legs in producing a great plan for this team. The only hiccup I want to say is about the first drive. Shane Waldron has had hiccups on his first drive every single game. So, JC, tell me about that.
Well, I mean, anytime you're trying to figure out a defense, you're going to have a little bit of issue. A lot of times, and this is one issue is, what do you got going there? Go Bears.
Go Bears, baby.
Yeah. No, I mean, where Nagy used to come out and have like the first 10 plays scripted and they would practice them nonstop before a game. Yeah. I feel like the Bears are not doing that with Waldron. We're going out there and actually running plays that are in a playbook, not scripted. Sometimes you're going to have to work things out. Accuracy is not always, first thing good to go on, it's like a pitcher. You're getting warmed up, it takes time to get in a rhythm, get into, your game. So like I said, if that's the issue, then, like I said, hey, I'll still take 35 points. Whether or not they had a rough, first series, it is what it is. I mean, again, I'm not going to put too much into it now. If you have a rough half, if you have a rough game, that's a little more worrisome. But like I said, a first series, it takes time. You got to get in your rhythm, get in your groove, settle down, and just make the throws. So, like I said, overall, I am loving what the Bears are doing on offense. We are finally starting to roll. I think that players meeting with Waldron really helped because, I mean, look, ever since that meeting, we are not having issues anymore. I mean, it looks like a actual offense, and I want to talk the same thing about you guys. I want to give all my flowers to Cole Kmet. Without him, there's no way Swift is doing what he's doing. Kmet doing the lead blocking, Kmet doing everything possible on the offense that he is asked to do. That man deserves all the flowers on the Bears right now, because without him lead blocking for Swift and doing everything he's doing, I don't know that the Bears offense looks like it does.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And then the funny thing is that because our friends over at CHGO, because Cole Kmet has a show out there, was literally talking about like he is the backup long snapper, and he's like, hey, I don't want any part of that, and I make sure he's okay, make sure that he is healthy, and God forbid I am the emergency long snapper. And sure enough, 3 to 4 days later, guess who's long snapping? It is Cole Kmet. And I think he did a bang up job. And one of the reasons that we didn't punt is because he wasn't the Bears coach. He was him doing long snaps essentially, because those are short snaps for field goals. So you can see that difference. But again, the man's going to earn 2 checks, and he did a bang up job. And we don't want to see this ever again. Cole Kmet catching touchdowns, yes. Long snapping, let's keep it down. Let's keep it down a little bit.
I mean, the fact that he was able to do it was impressive in general, right? It's, again, using Cole Kmet, and I think, especially with the history of tight ends in Chicago, and when he came out, number one, the history of tight ends in Notre Dame, right? Notre Dame notoriously, provides good tight ends in the NFL, aside from Tommy Tremble, who is probably still lost. But overall, I mean, to properly use a guy like this, who early in his career, people criticize the pick, people criticize his skill. I don't know if they necessarily used him properly. And then he got his extension, and they just basically showed him, hey, you're a local kid. We believe in you. We're going to put our faith in you. And, you talk about him being the safety net for any quarterback, right? For Justin Fields, for Caleb Williams. He's doing a hell of a job. You can't deny that he is such an integral cog in this offense right now. One thing I would like to point out, 6 games into the season. Now we know that the first game, Caleb was just talking about, I don't get nervous. Okay, you were nervous that game.
Right.
The defense, that was a defense game. You got a brand new featured running back. You got 2 brand new receivers. You got a brand new, a couple of, linemen, a brand new offensive coordinator. Did you expect that they would be able to click this quickly? And I say quickly because we've seen the Bears take 7, 8, 9, 10 games in the past to finally put it together.
I really think that the big difference between Shane Waldron and Luke Getsy, as you can see, like the difference between Luke Getsy and Justin Fields, you can see the difference between Shane Waldron and Caleb Williams, where he's made adjustments not only after the first 10 plays, 15 plays at halftime. He's actually making a lot of changes within the game to benefit the offense. You've seen that this offensive line is peacemaked, or whatever you want to call that. Essentially, yeah, thank you. Essentially, it's a bunch of rejects put together for a couple of draft picks that we did draft with Darnell Wright and so forth, and Jenkins. But you're putting a bunch of pieces that don't really mesh together. And now he's looking at, all right, what is your strength? What is your strength? And making that a strength for the team. All right, cool. These guys are going to rush through. All right, cool. We'll do play action. Let them rush through. We'll dump it off to the flat, and then we'll have Riley Swift, go out there and catch and run. We'll throw it to Cole Kmet. All right, cool. He's actually making the adjustments where Luke Getsy couldn't, and that's a big difference in from last year to this year. Also, you have Justin Fields. If you watched the broadcast, you saw they literally put the camera right on his eyes, and you saw the progression. He said 1, 2, 3, 4, and then spanned all the way back, and then made a throw. That is a huge difference between last year and this year, is the progression of a quarterback that can actually make his reads and make a throw accurately. So for me, Justin Fields couldn't do that. Caleb Williams is actually progressing in game 6 more than Justin Fields did the entire 3 or 4 years that he was with us.
Well, one thing you got to remember too is when we talk about changes on the offensive line, Nate Davis was inactive for this game. Okay, Nate Davis got the Velus Jones treatment. Hey, you can wear a Bears hoodie, but you cannot wear a Bears uniform, right? And that's what it is. I mean, shit.
Stay in the press box, bro. Go stay up there, bro.
Yeah, I mean, like you're an offensive coordinator in college. So yeah, I mean, I think going into this bye week, this game was important to win, and not just win, but win decisively, which they did. I think it's kind of disappointing, to be honest with you, when you look at how stagnant Trevor Lawrence has been, considering how he came into the league. And I will tell you this, like, it's kind of a shame to see the amount of talent on that Jaguars team and them not being able to put it together. But if you remember last year or last week, what I said, Doug Peterson is a boob. And let me tell you something. Most of the people that would listen to this show love boobs. Not that guy. I hate that guy. I would be so mad if he was my head football coach. And I don't see him lasting, 3 more games, if that. I mean, it's such a disaster. Like I said, you brought over Gabe Davis in that, they have players there. They have decent players, and they just cannot figure it out.
JC?
Yeah, I mean, agree with everything said. Going back to Justin Fields, yeah, I mean, how many times did we sit here on this podcast and say Justin Fields does not make reads? And not only does he not make reads, he can't throw over the middle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Cole Kmet's touchdown over the middle.
Right.
All these checkdowns of Swift, a lot of them over the middle. You got crossing routes, things that never would have been called when Justin Fields was on the field, because Justin was great at deep ball throwing and throwing to the outside. He could not throw over the middle in timing, in rhythm. It's just something he could not do. That said, I want to give a little bit of a shout out to the defense. 1 interception. We had 4 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, 6 pass deflections, I believe, and 8 QB hits. So Trevor Lawrence was having a rough day, to say the least. That said, Trevor Lawrence was quote unquote the can't miss prospect. I haven't seen it. Some of these guys, Dak Prescott, Trevor Lawrence, Daniel Jones, you go down the list, these guys are getting paid a hell of a lot of money, and they're mediocre at best. So I am really, you want to talk the worst of them all, Deshaun Watson. Like you kind of feel for some of these teams where it's like, you know what? Week 1 and week 2, we were sitting here, and again, I kept saying it's an offensive coordinator, offensive scheme issue. I did not think it was a Caleb Williams issue. But you sit here, and now week 6, you can confidently say the Bears have their future quarterback. That said, you look at some of these other teams, and thank God we have our future quarterback, because we no longer. I think there was a GM, and I forget. I think it might have been the Giants GM that told Poles, like, it must be nice to not have to keep searching for your future quarterback. In the offseason, there was a GM that Ryan Poles, and I believe it was the Giants GM. I can't confirm, but like I said, I had heard that rumor in the offseason, and like I said, it's nice. It's nice to finally be a Bears fan and say we have our quarterback.
Well, to quote Andy Samberg doing his best Nick Cage impression, that's high praise. Because Look, I've said it. I've said it a couple times already. Is if you look at Mitch, then Justin, now Caleb, you are looking at the similar skill set, but just a better version of the last one before him, right? It's getting tiring talking about Justin Fields because people still want to mention him and this and that and whatever. But at the end of the day, he's in the best situation for him in Pittsburgh. Dak Prescott puts up numbers, right? That Dak puts up numbers. He can't do it in the playoffs, but he puts up numbers. This season is absolutely terrible. I hate him with a passion this year because I was telling you guys before, I somehow in my work league, CeeDee Lamb dropped to me at like the 6th pick, and I picked him up immediately, and he's killing me. He's killing me. But overall, I mean, I kind of feel bad for Trevor Lawrence because I feel like sometimes you get put in a situation where you are clear number 1 pick or consensus number 1 pick. You go to a situation where the team is so bad that you just look like a failure if you don't have a support system around him. And I think that's one of the genius things about the way that this roster has been put together when the Bears had Justin Fields. Ryan Poles came in, stripped it down, and built it back up, and traded the 1st pick last year for Bryce, the Bryce Young pick, got in DJ Moore, got more picks, turned it into successful players, good pieces for this team. And then, just Caleb Williams coming into this season, it's been said time and time again, was that he is in the best position for a number 1 overall pick in ever, maybe, because of the support system they put around him. You brought in Keenan Allen. You were able to draft Rome Odunze. You had DJ Moore from the previous year. You had Cole Kmet in place, and you extended him to make sure he would stay.
Right.
And, one of the big things that we talked about is just about shoring up the offensive line. Looking at where you pick next year, if the Bears continue on this trajectory, their own pick is not going to be very high, but they still have a 2nd round pick from Carolina. So they can go ahead and backfill and their scouting has been really good to identify pieces that you can bring in, right? Talk about the defense real quick. DeMarcus Walker with a sack. Not even going to attempt this. Number 45 had a sack. That's what it says, man. Ogbong. Yeah. He had a sack. I'll be honest with you. The fact that he had a sack makes me feel bad that I can't say his name, but I do know Kieran Amagaji. I was the only one that could say it last time.
How about we just call him Agbo?
He was in this week.
Amen, Agbo.
Okay, Ambagaji came in. He was able to play this week. Christopher Williams. But overall, I think it was really important to point out the fact that you had Stevenson out. Okay, Brisker did not make the trip at all. Stevenson out with I think he had like a calf injury, and he was ruled out like on Thursday. And then around you had Kyler Gordon played the first half, was out for the second half, right? But Jalen Jones had to come in. He did a great job, 9 tackles, an assistant tackle. Kevin Byard had a great job. Tremaine Edmonds, I was so pissed because there was a football move. There was a catch. It was a football move. He stripped the ball. He covered it, and they did not count it. They took it back. That really pissed me off because that was definitely a strip. Keenan Allen, like I said, Keenan Allen getting a shine this week. We talked about the amount of games that he'll have played during the season. Look, he went over to London. He did his thing. And here's the thing about with Keenan, the 2 catches that he had in the end zone, they were very athletic plays, but they were put in a spot where only he could catch that ball. He had to be, he was there. He turned, bam, the ball's there. Both times. And after he had his touchdown, they all sat down in the end zone and had a nice tea party. That was beautiful. You're trolling at your finest. You're playing it up for the fans in London. I hope that they had a fantastic time over there, just aside from the win. The fact that the Jags couldn't even get over there because of the hurricane, Milton kind of stifled their travel. We got over there way earlier. We were on this show last week when they were traveling.
Yep.
I mean, they're just making smart business decisions, football decisions. You don't have any boob that is related to Virginia McCaskey over there making weird decisions. I'm not a excuse me.
Oh boy,
I'm not a football guy. So overall, we're looking real nice going into that bye week, and like I talked about last week. Does he have the ability to overtake Jaden Daniels in the way that he's been playing and to get that rookie of the year?
Yes.
Absolutely. And these bad teams that you have to beat, because the last three opponents that they beat, the Rams, the Carolina Panthers, and the Jaguars, 30th, 31st, 32nd defense in the league. Their next three opponents,
Arizona.
Washington, Arizona, and the Patriots. There's
Mhm.
something like 25, 26, 27. Hey, you are
I don't
playing
think the schedule.
complimentary football, and you're gearing up to face your division opponents, the strongest division in all of football right now.
Correct.
So count these as practice games. There's no reason they can't knock out these next three opponents with the way that their defense is playing and the way that their offense is playing. There's no reason that you can't go into that division or that divisional schedule right on top.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of the things that we have to take advantage of, especially with the way our schedule's been front loaded with nothing but AFC teams and teams that are at the bottom of the NFL. Not our fault. We didn't make the schedule, but our second half of our schedule is all divisional opponents, and that is going to be the tough part of the schedule because our division is the toughest in the NFL. I think they're what are they? They're like 15-4 or something like that, 15-5, whatever it is. They're one of the toughest divisions in the NFL. One person that was upset with the Chicago offense was Montez Sweat. He was talking to Courtney Cronin from ESPN. I was just talking to Montez Sweat, and he was like, "Man, I was getting frustrated. Y'all kept converting on third down. I'm ready to go back out there and trying to get a sack." I'm like, "Yeah, it's going to be like that sometimes as long as everybody's complimenting each other. Special teams playing is good, and we got a chance." That's exactly what you want. You want your defense cutting their teeth like, "Hey, man, I need to get back out there." And if we've seen the last 6 games, our defense is out there to take blood.
You want the defense to be bored. You want them to be bored.
I mean, it's a luxury. We never had that. We've never had that. It's crazy to say that.
Israel's over here pushing the narrative that we need to get Myles Garrett. I disagree. Would it be nice to have him? Absolutely. But I disagree that we need him because our defensive line is on point. They're playing great right now. Would it be a luxury? Absolutely. I mean, if you get, and here's the thing, Aiden Hutchinson, his leg wrapped around like a candy cane. It was disgusting. I didn't see it live. Because I was at softball at crack of dawn. But once I shared it in the group, right? And I'm not big on that gory crap. I still remember when Junior Seau broke his arm and it was literally hanging, like it was gross. But to see his leg snap like that, he's out for 4 to 6 months. My favorite was that Dan Campbell says, "Oh, he'll be out for a bit." Yeah, he'll be out for a whole bunch of bits. Okay. I think Aiden is awesome. He's a great player, but that's an advantage to us. So when you talk about getting a guy like Myles Garrett and the Lions losing a guy like Hutch, I mean, that would definitely really kind of push us up over the top. But you still got to face the Vikings, who, again, I still don't believe in, not necessarily. But you have a chance to really start making moves within the division, especially if you keep going strong the way that you are right now.
Yeah, I did see that injury, and it was disgusting. And for me, who doesn't get nauseous at seeing those things, it was a disgusting, really, because his leg wrapped around the other leg, and it was like, that's a broken leg. And you can see on the replay because he mouthed it open. He said, "My leg is broken." Um, it's hard to see that happen to good players, especially good players who make a big difference on the field. You never want to see that because they make the game exciting. And then we're looking at what we have to do on a second half. I don't think that the Lions will miss a beat when it comes to being a playoff contender because they have to play twice. And will they make a trade to supplement it? Maybe. Do we need it? I don't think so. I think our defense is just set. It's fine. It doesn't need a mouse. Need. I don't want to give up. I don't want to give up what we have in assets to get a rental or to get a player that's maybe disrupted the chemistry with our defense. And not saying nothing about Myles Garrett. I just don't know the man. I don't know what he is in the clubhouse. I don't think we need him right now. I think our defense is great. I think where we have to focus in the offseason is going to be offensive line, and that's something we address later. Right now, the offensive line is doing just enough for Justin Fields to be able to put up almost 300 yards, 2 to 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns at some point, and the boys to get some yards. So right now, I think the Bears are just fine, rolling with the punches with what they have. And then we're looking at they're going into the bye and then coming back and playing Jaden and the Commanders.
So it's 28. He's got after the season, he has 2 more years on his contract. But I mean, it's
So
just
he'll
a
be
heavy
expensive.
contract. That's really what it is.
Yeah, it'll be expensive.
I mean, and don't get me wrong. I mean, honestly, I think he's worth the money. But like I said, when you have this is kind of the caveat of having a good team, right? Having a good team means you have good players. You have good players, you have to pay them if you want to continue doing well. Because otherwise, you're sitting there hoping their backup soaked up some of that greatness.
And as we've seen, we don't have a lot of great backups, especially on the defensive side. I know they're coming up, they're coming strong or whatever, but the other side of the line from who's our rusher over here? Sorry, I just literally dropped my stats over here.
This is my favorite version of Z.
Yeah, because I'm like
Swift.
Swift. It's not much a Sweat. Like on the other side of Sweat, we have a bunch of players who have been actually showing up for us. But do we have the money and do we have the assets to give up for that for 1 or 2 years to disrupt it? Is that the question?
I mean, it would be picks.
Right. Do you want to give your second round pick?
Right. It would be picks and maybe a player, which I mean, again, if you're trying to focus on the offensive line, you're gonna have picks next year. You can do that. I mean, again, I think it's not, to me, it's not necessarily the assets as much as the money, right? That's what it comes down to. Because here's the thing: if you feel like you're really clicking on all cylinders and you can be a surprise team this year, because look, what is my catchphrase? All you need is a chip in a chair. You get to the tournament. The playoffs are a tournament. You get into the tournament, who the hell knows what happens, especially if you're clicking at all cylinders, but you got to get into that tournament first, right? And if you get into that tournament, having a piece like Myles Garrett would be great, especially, like I said, with Detroit not having Hutch. And there has already been discussions, and I've already seen articles talking about them going after, a defensive lineman because of that. So Quentin Nelson would be awesome, but you got to remember that the Colts also have a young quarterback. Despite the fact that Joe Flacco was playing yesterday, they're still going to protect. They're still going to try to protect Anthony Richardson. But Quentin Nelson from Notre Dame, Israel says, should the Bears go after Quentin Nelson? That would be awesome. But again, I don't think that's going to happen. And I talked a lot about the fact that it is really hard to trade for any type of offensive lineman in midseason. Right? It's early on. That division as a whole is terrible. Colts, Jaguars, Titans. Who else is even in that division? I don't even know. But it's just a bad division in general. So, I mean, could they possibly give someone up? Maybe, but I don't see it being someone like Quentin Nelson, a guy of that caliber.
You got the Texans, Colts, Titans, and Jaguars. So the Texans will be winning that division at 5-1 already. The Colts are 3-3, Titans 1-4, and Jags 1-5. I mean, do you want to poach some of these teams like the Raiders, the Browns, the Titans, and Jaguars at this point? Can Ryan Poles be that, wheeling and dealing GM that can, swindle some talent that is not only cost friendly, but doesn't cost us a lot in the draft?
I actually have a great player for that. If you want to swindle somebody from the Browns, swindle me Elijah Moore. Keenan Allen's on a 1-year deal. I could see Elijah Moore being that slot receiver into the outside next year with DJ. And like I said, you bring in a shifty, shorter slot guy like Elijah Moore. I think that would be, depending on what we can get him for, that would be an interesting one for me.
Iraq.
And he's young. And he's really young.
I'm trying to look up, he came in with Nelson's age here. Give me a second.
When Nelson is probably like 2 or 3 years
28. 28. So he's kind of up there, but depending on what you get him for,
that's not a prime.
I'll tell you what, when he came out in the draft, I wanted the Bears to get him so bad. And he got picked, I think it was like 3 or 4 picks ahead of us. And I was cursing up a storm because that dude was a mauler when he came out.
Yeah, I mean, I watched him in college because I'm a Notre Dame fan. I'm a glutton for punishment when it comes to the playoffs. But yeah, and just Googling Quentin Nelson's name. I mean, there is articles out there talking about the Dolphins should go after him if he's on the trade block. The Bears, of course, sports mockery thinks that every player the Bears ever had is the best player ever, or how terrible everyone is. It's just that's how they work. There's the ultimate sports clickbait site. But yeah, I mean, again, if you're going to go after anyone and you can get them for a decent price, I mean, again, you're talking about a guy that's 28, you're in your prime at 28 years old. What is it? He was ranked 33. Oh, that was a couple years ago. Ranked number 33 on NFL Network's top 100 players in the league, right? And again, that was a couple years ago, but still, I mean, great player. Again, if you can somehow snag him, he signed, what does it look like? He signed a 4-year, $80 million contract with the Colts, including a $31 million signing bonus and $60 million guaranteed. That was a couple of years ago, it looks like. So, I mean, again, it's hard to pry. It's hard to pry good or even decent offensive linemen away from any team. So you'd have to give out, you'd have to give him some cash here, but it looks like he'll be a unrestricted free agent in 2027. So it'll be a couple years. So you can, I wouldn't call that a rental. I definitely call that someone that you could, add to your line and clearly be successful with him. And, like I said, right in his prime. And, you get a guy like that can play for, you get a guy like that can play for 5 years on your squad. I mean, you don't sneeze at that, especially when you got a rookie quarterback. But overall, I do want to give flowers to the line because they have been playing much, much better, especially since they no longer have JC's favorite player, Nate, in the mix. So, it's hard to really find a fault in this team right now. They're just firing on all cylinders. You could pick on that one single interception, couldn't you,
Yeah.
JC?
Yeah, but it's a rookie. He's gonna make mistakes. I was waiting for JC to jump in, but he's a rookie. He's gonna make mistakes. But he's outshining all these mistakes week by week. You see has growth every single week.
Yeah.
He's reading the defense. He's calling the plays on the line. Shane Walters is like, hey, go out there, call the fast offense. Do it. Let him have ownership of the offense to the best of his ability because he likes to move fast. He doesn't want to wait for the call. I'm like, hey, I need the call. No, he wants to move. He wants to keep the tempo going. He wants to put the defense on its heels. I'm all for that. And we're seeing that week to week that he's growing. There's no complaints on offense right now. Shane Waldron's doing a decent job. He made the adjustments with the offensive line. He's made the adjustment with the offense. There's nothing to complain about. It's a happy Monday. It really is a happy Monday.
Caleb's interception was basically underthrowing DJ Moore. That's really what it came down to. It wasn't like it was a stupid. It wasn't like he threw it into a window where he shouldn't have. He just underthrew the player, right? I mean, he's getting there. We've definitely seen him like with his deep ball. And again, a lot of times deep balls are weird because unless somebody's like completely wide open, it's almost hard to get to him. But like I said, when you see him throw into those tight windows, the way that he did with Keenan Allen, the way that literally Keenan turned around and there was that big brown thing right in my face, and he was able to catch it, right? I don't know if you guys remember from the old school. I forget who was that. Roy Williams when he played for the Bears years ago. You got hit in the face mask with a ball. Old Texas player. But anyway, yeah, I mean the overthrow was the big thing. And I will say this, Caleb Williams is the Ricky Bobby of the NFL. I want to go fast. I just want to go fast because he loves that that hurry up offense. And that's what you see him. I gotta say though, like you seeing the probably my favorite pass of that entire game is when Caleb is scrambling around and he's about to go out of bounds and he looks like he's about to throw it away. Hi, Cole. And he just finds Cole Kmet and zips it over there. And you know the crazy thing is that when you see Caleb Williams throw the ball, it looks absolutely effortless. You don't see a big windup. It's just kind of like shooting from his shoulder. It is interesting to watch the amount of air he gets under the ball and the amount of zip he gets on the ball when it looks like there's just very minimal effort there. And Israel, we do not need Uncle Rico because he'll just throw it over them hills and no one will ever catch it.
Uncle Rico.
I knew he was gonna come in here just say some wild shit. This is like the fourth member of the show today. We would have won state. We would have won state. I love it, man. That's fantastic.
Oh, thanks, Israel, for chiming in as usual.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, my good. Yeah, Israel's all over the place, and we love him for every week. Oh my God, it's all in good fun. Yeah, sure it is. Go ahead, D, bro.
So again, we got the bye week coming up. Hopefully they go do something fun. Your defense that's hurt a little bit can heal up. You know, like I said, you got Gordon that went out with a hammy. You got Stevenson that had a calf, and Brisker had the concussion, and which he didn't look like he had a concussion at first because he played the rest of the game. Like I said, Tommy Tremble gave Tommy Tremble the trembles, but he came in early last week with some concussion symptoms. Obviously, he stayed here, so he's got a couple weeks to recover. The funny thing is that I wanted to mention this. So Malik Neighbors of the Giants had a concussion.
Yep.
And then he went to a concert, like a loud, flashy concert, and you being the concussion expert on the show,
that's a no-no. That is a huge no-no.
That's concussion 101. What are you doing? So again, you know, people talked about we should have got Neighbors. You look at Rome Odunze, young guy. He couldn't be more professional if he tried. It's funny because he like when he had like a clinic or a camp or something like that where he's talking to high school players, and they almost looked at him in this condescending way. He was like, hey, you know, keep it up. You're doing great. And they're like, who the hell is this guy? He's like a year older than me, you know, but you know, granted, yes, of course he went through college, but it was just interesting to see, like you talk about his professionalism, the way he carries himself. He's very well spoken. You can hear his intelligence in his voice when he speaks. And then you got Malik Neighbors out there, you know, just, you know, having a good old time in the middle of the season with a concussion. I definitely think we made, if we're going to pick one versus the other, you made the right pick, because look, Marvin Harrison went out yesterday with a concussion as well. So I hope that they have fun during this bye week. I hope they don't have too much fun in the sense where they do some dumb shit. That is the one caveat, is when you have that time off, you could get into something stupid. I think more than likely I see Caleb studying. I see DJ Moore spending time with his young kids. You know, I think that you're seeing this team bond. I think that this trip overseas gave the team time to bond. I was listening to some of the interviews after the game with Jeff Joniak talking about he had a couple of beers here and there, hanging out with the fans, having a good time. He said when he talked to Caleb and he talked to mainly Caleb, one of the main things that he talked about was the camaraderie of going on this trip. They were about an hour outside of the actual proper London city, playing cards, dominoes, hanging out. That camaraderie and that trip, it could be a lot for this team going forward. It's still pretty early in the season. It could provide like a huge like spark and this feeling of family that don't get me wrong, winning will do that.
Yes.
But having that time together, makes a big difference.
Makes a big difference. I remember we had the Bulls in the 90s, right? What would they do in the back of the plane or the back of the bus? They played cards and dominoes all day. And Jordan be taking everybody's money.
Yep.
All right. So that's exactly what you need, right? You need everybody to play together, be a family, enjoy each other's presence. And that's one of the biggest things when it comes to a team is that bonding aspect and being able to get to know each other, get to know each other's likes and dislikes, and get to know each other's personalities. And right now, I think that's coming along. We have a bye week. Everyone gets rested up. Everyone gets healthy. And we come back firing against Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders, and that's going to be a measuring test between Caleb and Daniels as far as the rookie of the year contest, right? So I want to talk about that a little bit more, but I got to take a break. We'll be right back, and we'll talk about the Washington Commanders, Chicago Bears matchup coming up in 2 weeks. So we're right back after a word from our sponsors.
Hey, true Chicago sports fans, show off your Chicago pride with some fresh clothes from Grit Clothing Company. At Grit Clothing, they create that simple yet classic style that represents that Chicago Southside lifestyle. From t-shirts to hoodies, hats to glassware, they've got you covered. Grit has everything you need to represent your Chicago pride, so do it right now. Check out gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15. TrueFan15 for 15% off your entire order. Let me say it again. That's gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off of your entire order.
Hey guys, it's Steven.
And this is Sean, and you are listening to True Chicago Sports Fans.
Don't forget to listen to No War on the Weekend. New episodes on Monday. You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, so we're going to go do a couple of shots. So let's kick it back over to Big Z.
Water on the weekend.
Whoa.
You did it again.
All right, welcome back to the True Chicago Sports Fan Podcast with E-Rock, Big Z, and JC Dynasty Football. Yeah, we had the everybody on mute for a second. Welcome back. And now we're going to talk about the Washington Commanders matchup in about 2 weeks. We'll give it a little small preview. I mean, what are we seeing with Daniels in Washington with the Commanders? I mean, he's been proclaimed the better picked by many experts, but I disagree. I think we have the quarterback for our team with the Chicago Bears. I know they are. I think they have the same record of 4-2 in the NFC East, and we are 4-2 in the NFC North. So, what is your impressions of Jaden Daniels, and what do we see for the next matchup?
So overall, I mean, you look at he has in his career 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, right? His current rating is 107.1. He's obviously progressed the same way that Caleb has. He's gone up and down a bit. He does not have a 300-yard passing game. Caleb does. They played the Ravens. They played the Ravens well, but they did not win. 68% completion rating, 269 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. His second highest quarterback rating at 110. His best quarterback rating was on September 23rd versus the Bengals with 91.3 completions rating. That's pretty damn impressive. 254 yards, 2 tutties for a 141.7 quarterback rating. Look, honestly, I think you could not have gone wrong if you had picked him or Caleb. I think that Caleb has more personality. He has that more, everyone want to talk about his nails, stupid thing to talk about, or the handbag he carried on Hard Knocks, or whatever, him crying in his mom's arms or whatever it is. To me, that always shows passion, right? You are who you are. But I think overall, they couldn't have, I don't think that you could have gone wrong with either one of these quarterbacks, especially the way they're both playing right now. I think it's a very early game of the year so far. I think it'll be extremely entertaining. But I also look at that defense that the Commanders have, and I look at the defense that the Bears have, and I think that the Bears definitely have the advantage there. So I would look at, on the offensive side, you're probably pretty even. Brian Robinson was out this week with an injury. They also have Austin Eckler that came over from the Chargers, and they have scary Terry McLaurin there. So, but I look at overall, I think you have more offensive weapons for the Bears. And I think that the Bears defense is a lot better too. So there's no reason that this shouldn't be a winnable game. You look, like I said, you look at the next 3 games, the defense is rated in the 20s overall, right? Late 20s if that. There's no reason that they can't win these games. I want to pull up real quick because I had it here, our predictions from last week for this game. All right, so we had JC 27-24 Bears. Stevie had it also 27-24. Big Z 28-21. E-Rock 31-13. Final score 35-16.
There you go.
I win, guys. I win that week. And like I said, I feel like they were going to score a lot of points. Like I said, them firing on all cylinders right now. I hope they do spend some time, at least maybe towards the end of the week. Give them their break, but come right back, firing on all cylinders. Put together a game plan. I don't like how they start games with the first, couple of series where they're 3-and-out. But when they get to the second quarter, somehow they start getting hot. I think we're going to need to start fast in this game because Jaden Daniels and that team have been playing very well. I think that you need to do something early in the game to kind of demoralize him. Interception early in the game. Score on your first drive. We need to sit there and push them down quick like a bully and put your foot on their throat. But honestly, I think this is going to be more close to a 27-24 game because, like I said, you both have 2 dynamic quarterbacks. But I think the Bears, like I said, because of the defense, I don't see any reason why the Bears can't come out on top. And then, like I said, you got Cardinals and you got Patriots. So these 3 games right before you go into your divisional schedule are definitely games.
JC.
Well, I'll say this: Washington has faced better competition than us. They faced Cincy, Arizona, and Baltimore, and they walked away with 2 of the 3. Jaden Daniels he's just being efficient right now. His legs, he's definitely using them to his advantage. He's very Lamar Jackson-esque. That was his comp when he was coming out. Was that he's kind of skinny, kind of lengthy, but his game is very much Lamar Jackson. In my opinion, I think he's a better passer than Lamar Jackson, which in the long run is really going to help him in his career because, my one gripe on Lamar has always been that, when it comes to those games, if they can stop him from running, he can't get it done with his passing. So that would be my thing. And the key to the game, stop Jaden Daniels from running. If we can keep him from, let's see, rushing, had, I'm trying to look it up here right now. 28 against Baltimore, 66 Cleveland, 27 Arizona, 55 Cincy, and 34. And these are actually, you know what? Hold on 1 second. I apologize. That's the team. That's not him. Or no.
So just
sorry.
So, talking about Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson has 10 passing touchdowns this year versus 2 interceptions. He has 29 yards and a 67% completion rate with an average of 8.7. Caleb is sitting around 7.9, 7.8 average, per pass. Lamar Jackson has done a fantastic job of passing the ball this year. There's no denying that.
You know why?
He's
He has a
he's
stud running back behind him. That's why. He has a stud running back behind him called Derek fucking Henry, who I've had on my fantasy team for years and years and years. The guy can pass, the guy can catch, the guy can fucking run over people. That's why he's having a successful year, because he has Derek fucking Henry on his team to alleviate a lot of the pressure. That's why. He's got a running game. Simple as that.
Yeah. Not only that, he's got some great tight ends that are really helping bail him out. Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, two top 10 guys in the
Mark
NFL.
Andrews has been non-existent this season.
This
yeah,
week was
because
the
he's
first
being used as a blocker to help keep Lamar Jackson upright. But I mean, still a top 10 tight end in this league. Granted, he's not being used in that way. Isaiah Likely has been the pass catching option, but Mark Andrews is still a fantastic tight end. I will not take that away from him.
Yeah, he has a talent. He's just not being used in that manner. But if you got Derrick Henry, give him the ball, let him rush for 2 touchdowns a game, let him get 150 yards, takes the pressure off every single thing on offense, man.
Oh, absolutely. But like I said, Lamar, when he first came out, again, even Lamar's MVP season, I think there were better options out there to have won the MVP. But it's who voted, and Lamar got it. Good to him. Again, I look at Jaden Daniels' game. I see it very similar to Lamar, but I just personally think Jaden has a little more upside with his passing game. That's just my thoughts on him as a quarterback. But as of right now, I think he's sitting at 1,400 yards passing. Let's take a look. What does Caleb have?
Yeah, Derrick Henry already has 8 touchdowns on the season rushing and 704 yards.
Take a look. I have Brian Robinson, which unfortunately Brian Robinson was out over the weekend for the Commanders. But I mean, Brian Robinson's been pounding the ball in too for the Commanders
right now.
Sorry.
So yeah, Jaden Daniels, passing yards, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, QBR of 73.5.
Yeah, and you got Justin with 1,300 yards, a rating of 88.7. I'm sorry, Justin. Caleb Williams. Why is Justin Fields on my mind? Jesus Christ. Caleb Williams with 13 yards, 9.5.
Yeah, so you got Brian Robinson right now, 325 yards, 5 touchdowns, and he was out this weekend. I believe he had a foot injury or something. He's on my fantasy team, so I mean, the Commanders' run game has been very efficient, especially with Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson, and Austin Eckler, I believe, is now there. And Jaden Daniels' legs. Again, they've been very run happy, and they've been successful with running. So, like I said, whether or not Brian Robinson will be available, that's a question. We're still 2 weeks away. But I really do think the Commanders are one of the teams, or one of the first teams that we are going to face that I can see like, okay, this is a game we need to keep an eye on. This is not, they're power ranked like number 9, in the power rankings that we keep bringing up. E-Rock.
What's that? And the power rankings currently?
Yeah. Weren't the Commanders like ranked 9th or something like that?
No, I think it was around like 11 or 12, and I think the Bears were sitting around like 17, 16. I didn't look it up for this week. Again, this weekend was was too damn busy for me. But yeah, I mean,
But like I said, I mean, it's going to be like a true test of the Bears, I think, versus like some of these other teams we've been facing where, the Jags, where I think we're like in the late 20s in the power rankings. So, like I said, I think the Commanders are going to be a true test, and, I think we'll win. But like I said, I think this is going to be a good test for us to see where we're at.
Yeah, like I
Bears
said,
are
I
ranked
think the
number
defense
10.
is definitely. There you go. Yeah, and see, and
That was Siri
Siri's
listening.
jealous over there.
Yeah, Siri's jealous. I'm not talking to her. You got the Washington Commanders ranked at 16. The Bears ranked at 10 after Sunday's games.
No, so we improved over
Whose
them.
list is that?
This is just a teamrankings.com. Pro Football didn't have it up there yet.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, so here's another thing too, is that the Bears were the home team in London, so that makes it 9 straight home wins. You can count that however you want, but they were the home team. In the last 4 games, I believe it was last 3 games, DeAndre Swift, 404 yards, 3 touchdowns. So we talked about him quite a bit in the beginning of the season, not getting his thing done. And then another thing I wanted to point out when we talk about Sweat, right? Because, the way he came into the season, I think it was week 8, week 9, whatever it was last year, after their trade deadline. Another great move by Ryan Poles. We saw him coming on fire. It changed the dynamic of the entire team because we saw them start playing so much better on defense. You barely hear from him this year, but when you talked about him, saying, man, the offense is too good, so on and so forth. He was credited for a half a sack. Now, here's the thing: is that because he's so good in what he did coming into this season, he's been double teamed and even sometimes even chipped. Because they want to make sure that he's not getting to the quarterback. So I think if he can kind of get going in that Washington game as well, he can definitely make quite an impact on not just the quarterback but also the rushing game, just depending on what happens there. Because like I said, you're going to have Austin Eckler there, who was very good in LA with previously, so they do have some dynamic players in offense. But I do have a question of the week. My big question of the week. Bears currently at 4-5, or 4-2, 4-5, 4-2. Yeah, it's just I'm so tired. 4-2. And like I said, you got 3 winnable games. Again, we can look at this Washington game, not knowing, how they want to come to the season, how Jaden Daniels is going to play. It's a straight up head-to-head best game of the year so far, in my opinion. You got them, you got you got them, you got the Cardinals, you got the shitty-ass Patriots, who changed over and brought in Drake May, who on his first game, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, did very well. So that might be more of a challenge than we think it's going to be. But based on their current 4-2 record, how many wins do you think the Bears are going to have at the end of the season?
4-2. 6.
Yeah, 4-2. Know who they won, or who we know who they beat, right? Like I said, you got Commanders, you got Cardinals, you got Patriots, and then you start going into your divisional games. November 17th, you take on the Packers, and then you take on the Vikings. It looks like you got the Lions for the Thanksgiving game, Niners. So once you get through the rest of the non-divisional schedule, you got Packers, Vikings, Lions, Niners, Vikings, Lions, Seahawks, and then end with the Packers and Jordan Love.
So we're already 4-2.
I would say on the bad end it's 9, on the good end it's 10. I think they split the series with their divisional foes, and it really depends on the game between the Niners and the Seahawks on whether they get to 9 and 10. wins.
So let's say
I've
now,
I've almost got them higher than that, but
yeah,
because like I look at the Commanders as a win. Cardinals, I mean, they're so up and down, but I still see that as a win. So that's 2 there. Patriots is a win. That's 3 there.
yeah,
Packers.
even if you
Even
split
if you
with your
call Packers a split, that's another 1. So that puts us at what, 8 wins. Vikings, say a split, that puts us at 9. I see 49ers as a loss, Vikings loss, Lions. Without Aiden Hutchinson, I could see us taking both of those.
won both last year.
And Seahawks I see as a win. So
Yeah.
I'm looking at maybe 12 wins.
Okay.
But again, that's those division rivalry games, that's where it's going to come into play. Can we split or can we take both?
And that's what I'm saying. If we split, we're at 10 wins. I don't see the confidence, especially with the 49ers. We don't know if McCaffrey's going to be back by then. You have the Seahawks, who have been playing a lot better as of lately. Obviously, the Packers, we've lost 10 straight against them. The Lions are offensively a great team. Yes, we took 2 last year, but they weren't playing for anything at that point. So it don't matter. It again, the divisional foes is really what's gonna be the deciding factor. And again, I think that the Bears Commanders game is not gonna be such a blowout. I think it's gonna be even game that's gonna come down to the wire to the last 2, 3, 4 minutes. And then who's gonna win that game? I think it's gonna come down to the fourth quarter. The Cardinals game, I think the Patriots too. That's what I'm saying. It's the divisional foes that really scares me when it comes to if we split those games, we're at 10 wins.
I think they can definitely, again, Commanders, I agree with you there. I'm looking at more of a 27-24 game than I was at the Jaguar game, right?
Yeah.
I think that if they're smart, because you got to remember you have Marvin Harrison Jr. and you got the toddler running around like he stole a cookie on the Cardinals. I think that right there is a game that they can, as long as they stay focused and they still have some carryover from the Commanders game. I think that Patriots game, even though it's here at home, it might be a trap game. You got to be really careful, don't underestimate them. I think, but the benefit is here's the only thing. You're going to Washington and you're going to Arizona, right? We know the Bears like playing in Arizona. We already know what happened there. I think the interesting thing about the Commanders game is that it is Caleb Williams' homecoming game, going back to the DC area. There was a lot of discussion about should the Commanders try to go up and get him because he is the hometown guy, things like that. But, but yeah, Patriots play here. You got after that Cardinals game, you got 3 straight home games after not playing at home in like 35 days, despite the fact that Jaguars game was a home game, right? So then you got, like I said, Patriots come here, Packers come here, and Vikings come here. And then, like I said, you got that Lions game. So, and then here's the other thing about that 49ers game. It is in California. It's in San Francisco. So, you kind of like I said, my big concern is that Patriots game. I don't want them to underestimate the Patriots. It'll be interesting to see, 3 weeks from now, what was that 3-4 weeks from now, whatever it is. It'll be interesting to see where Drake May is at that point, right? Gerard Mayo had to go away from Jacoby Brissett because we know what he is. He's been in the league for a long time. Floating around, started for the Patriots a little bit as a backup. He went over to I think he was at the Colts. So he kind of bounced around a bit, but it'll be interesting to see, like I said, that game in particular, as long as they don't underestimate the Patriots and they put in a good game plan, they should be able to take care of business. But yeah, like I said, November 17th, I think that's a game that we should find a way to get together and definitely, make some noise and drink some beers. Bears at home against the Packers. Again, I think I'm on right in that train with JC. If they're playing the way that we know that they can play, because the only 2 losses they have this season, they were in that game, right? They should have beat the damn Colts, and they could have beaten the Texans. Did they beat the Texans? No. But I think that, again, that was early season jitters, a primetime game for this squad and a rookie quarterback. I could see
finding their offensive identity, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, here's another issue. You got the Vikings at home on November 24th, and then 4 days later, you're playing on Thanksgiving in Detroit.
Yep.
That's a quick turnaround, right? God forbid we have
injuries.
And that's a tough turnaround. 4 days from now, you're playing right away, and that's what I'm saying. Those divisional games are going to be key as far as if we make the playoffs or not. And again, that Niner and Seahawk game will push us over if we split all those games. So again, I think it's going to be interesting. That's exactly what we wanted to do, is have an interesting season. We didn't want to have a 8-game winning season this year. We wanted to have 20 wins. So fingers crossed that we sweep the next 3 games and then go from there and take care of our division opponents.
So all things being the same right now, what is your predictions for this Washington game? I know we have the bye week, but I'm also doing bye week. So what are your predictions for this Washington Commanders game?
I'm gonna go it's straight in line with you. I think it's a 27-24 game, field goal game in the last couple minutes, where it's gonna come down to the wire. I really think it's gonna be a brawl, and it's gonna come down to possession. And at the end of the day, I think the Bears win it with Cairo Santos kicking a field goal.
Okay. JC?
Give me Bears 31 and give me Commanders 24. Because I'm just hoping that the Bears defense can be a little opportunistic with a rookie quarterback. Maybe we can get a couple from this young man.
Yeah. All right. I like it. I like to go Bears. Like I said last week, I got my Bears Kool-Aid that I'm drinking very heavily. Hey, let me tell you something. I will fill this with beer if we're watching that Packers game. I have no reason not to. It's this is another thrift store find that I got for like $3, and it's awesome.
There you go.
In fact, it actually was $3, $2.99 right there. So I've had to go out on a shelf. Might as well use it. So I did have one note. I don't know if you want to move over. I got my notepad here. We can do that.
Yeah. Well, we'll switch over to Eddie's notepad. Let's do that.
Okay, so 2 things this week for the company I work for, Stern Pinball. This is our Pinball Expo. This is the 40th anniversary of the show, so it's going to be bigger and better than ever. And at this show, for all you classic metal guys, we just announced this. Actually, Metallica beat us to the punch in announcing this. We have a remastered Metallica pinball game coming out. It will debut at Pinball Expo. It is badass. We did a version of this game a few years ago on our old system, which was what's called a SAM system. It had a dot matrix display. This current game does have a LCD screen display on our Spike 2 system. You can do what's called Insider Connected, where you create an account and scan into the game, and it saves your progress, your scores, your high scores, all that good stuff, just like a regular video game. So that is going to be debuting at Pinball Expo. I believe the first day is Wednesday, and it runs through Saturday. So definitely come check it out. And if you see me, come and say hi. And another thing I really wanted to touch on, last week, I think it was I don't know what day it was, but it was, I think it was something like Men's Mental Health Day. Okay. David Montgomery, I don't remember the name of the podcast, so if you want to go find it, you can find it. But David Montgomery went on a podcast and talked about early on in his career with the Bears. He got a lot of feedback from fans who really pressed on him about fantasy football, and it affected him to the point where he had suicidal ideation, and he talked about it very candidly on this podcast. And he said the one thing that really kept him going is when he would see his nephew, and his nephew would say, "Hey, Uncle Dave, how you doing? Oh, you're so great." And once he realized that there was someone there, someone behind him looking up to him, he knew that this wasn't something that he could do, and he found a way. So he went and looked for therapy. He found a way to get himself back to a base point. He found a way to shut out all the bullshit noise. Because here's the thing that everyone has to remember. At the end of the day, football players, basketball players, whoever it is, still a human being. So you sitting there bitching and moaning about your fantasy team. At the end of the day, this is still a person. This is still a human being. So I thought it was really, really cool of David, former Bear. We loved him here. He's no longer here. He's a division now, a rival now. But yeah, I thought that was really important for him to come out and talk about that. I thought, if it's something that you've ever gone through, we've talked about this on the show before. Go ahead. I don't have it in front of me. Google the suicide prevention hotline.
Text 988. Text 988.
Thank you.
That's a text number. Hit 988 on a text, and they'll connect you with somebody to help you out with any issues that you may have. So go ahead and make that text. It's easier to text.
Easy to text. I talked quite a few times about the guy who is actually featured in the intro song that we currently use on the show, Mike One. So every year, around middle of the summer and around the holidays, he's always weighing very heavy on my mind, and he something happened to him, and I don't want it to happen to any of you, because we need you to listen. We need you to listen to us ramble on and fight and argue, and we just need you to be here. Okay, so if you have any need for that, you got something going on in your mind, definitely reach out and talk about that. And lastly, I wanted to talk a little bit about the MLB playoffs, because Z's second favorite team, the Los Dodgers, I see him looking over there. Shohei Ohtani's very first. There you go. Oh, nice. I did not know you had that with your name on it. That's really cool. I got some shit last week for wearing some of my Steelers gear, because I've talked about it before. I am Steelers is my second favorite team in the NFL. I wore that stuff way before Justin went over there, which is why I was so happy that he did go over there. But right now, they are tied with the Mets after the shellacking they put on the Mets in LA the previous night. And then the Mets came back and basically did the same to them. Currently, you got Cleveland and the Yankees going against each other. So we have a potential, and this is only game one, even though the NL has already gone through 2 games, which happens every year. We have a potential this year for a Subway Series, which I know would break Z's heart. Yes. It would be interesting for the rest of us. But again, I'm rooting for Shohei. I think it's a great story. I'm wondering how much his interpreter has on this series. But that's there. Z,
he's got 4 packs of cigarettes on it because he's in jail.
I was about to say he's got 30 cigarettes on it.
Z, why don't you talk a little bit about your
man, I mean, the Dodgers really showed out, putting 9 runs on the Mets last night. It was great. I don't want to see boring games. I don't want to see blowouts. I wanted more of an interesting game, but I'll take the W. And then I turn on the game. I'm like, oh man, I forgot it was at 3:00, and they're down 6-0. I'm like, oh damn, it's going to be one of those series where it's going to be back and forth. I still see this series going 6 games. Hopefully to the Dodgers. The problem is that the Mets have been the comeback team of the year with so many comebacks, especially in the playoffs. They've been down all the way to the 9th inning, especially against the Brewers. They are the comeback. They're the Cinderella team right now. Then you have the other side. You have the prominent Yankees, and then you have the Cleveland, who doesn't have the type of payroll or the talent that the Yankees do. So I'm pulling for Cleveland ish, maybe. I don't know. I kind of hate Ohio. I've always said that, but who likes the Yankees though? It's like broccoli.
I'd rather cheer for the underdog than the guy paying $250 million for a salary.
I'll tell you this though. Dodgers and Yankees would be a fantastic World Series. Are you kidding me?
Yes.
Like You got Shohei versus Aaron Judge. And Aaron Judge is terrible in the playoffs. He can't hit for shit in the playoffs. But overall, as a team, I mean, that would be a absolutely fantastic series. And on the other end, if you get like the Mets and Cleveland, is it going to be as great of a series? No. Cleveland has not won in a very, very long time. Not to see them come up, like let's say for example, you got Dodgers, and Cleveland. You think about when's the last time the Cleveland team was in the World Series? Anyone?
90s.
2016. 2016.
Oh,
that's
that didn't
time
count.
Series. Guess what happened then? Anyone? Bueller? Anyone remember what happened? That's right. So, I mean, to see them make the World Series and get disappointed again, that would be pretty sweet. But again, I think overall, I think if you're going to have, I think the Yankees on the AL side would be the pick, right, for the least boring World Series.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if they're gonna face the Mets Subway Series, that's still got some great. And I'll tell you who would be absolutely thrilled about that is our boy Anthony Fuentes, who will still messages me directly talking about. I could just hear, oh my God, these fucking Mets! I can't believe what they're doing. They're gonna kill everybody. They're gonna win the whole fucking thing. Can you believe that? I don't gotta wear that stupid fucking hat no more. Oh my God, that would be absolutely
great. That's fucking great. That's so spot on. That is so spot on.
Could you imagine his the way he wouldn't even be able to control himself, right?
No.
He would. Let me tell you something. I got to give him a shout out because he's done such a great job on his weight loss journey. That boy will be on that treadmill trying to run through the gym. You're going to see him next time, and he's going to be like Jack Skellington if the Mets win the World Series.
I was going to say he would throw his weight around, but there's no more weight to throw around. That dude's lost half his body. The dude is doing great. He's killing it on the stage. He's killing it in the gym, and there's nothing more proud that we can do for our boy Anthony Fuentes, who's killing it all over. Looking at AL Division Series, they lost to the Yankees. Cleveland did in 2022. They lost in 2020. They lost in 2017 to the Yankees. I mean, they just continue to lose against the Yankees. So it's just I don't know about that, man. The Yankees got their number. I don't know. I really don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, seeing Yankees and Dodgers would be an ideal series just because, like I said, you got the superstars on both sides. To see Shohei coming over to the Dodgers in his first season, being able to do what he did, the first member of the 50-50 club, it would be really interesting. He's been playing, with runners in scoring position. I think he was like 9 for 11 or something like that with a whole ton of RBIs. So just the way that he's been playing, he did. I don't remember. I think he struck out today because when I came home and I turned it on, it was like the 8th inning, and then I was just
He was 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts.
What's that?
I think he was 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts.
It wasn't good.
Yeah, Mookie Betts was 0 for 4 as well. So like Freddie Freeman had a walk. It was a bad night for the Dodgers, a bad day, whatever. But again, it's baseball. You don't win every single game, and again, it's a 7-game series, so it should be interesting. And like I said, I'm cheering for a Dodger-Yankee World Series because it'll be interesting. It's two former New York teams, and now you got coast to coast. You got the superstars. It makes for a great World Series. If it's Mets and Guardians, I think Anthony Fuentes and maybe somebody in Cleveland is going to be watching. That's about it.
Hey, look, if it's Mets versus Cleveland, I might have to borrow a Mets hat from our boy. Or at least go listen. If the Mets make the World Series,
we'll go watch a game with them. We'll go watch a game with them. Yeah, we'll go watch a game with them.
100%.
Yeah,
because I ain't seen him in a minute, and it would be great to see him. And like I said, he still messages me, and I'm like, bro, that was close. He goes, bro, I was thinking the same fucking thing. I love that guy, man. He's awesome. JC, who you got in this World Series, man?
You know what? I'll be honest with you. I didn't pay attention at all to the postseason baseball because I'm a Cubs fan. If they're not in it, I don't care. Wow. But I mean, I guess if I had to choose, I mean, think of this. The Dodgers are what the Dodgers are, and Shohei Ohtani isn't even pitching. So next year is going to be even worse. That said, I mean, like I said, I kind of lead towards the small market team, so I would love to see the Guardians in it. You know, again, you give me two large. Yes, it'll be great if it's Dodgers, Yankees from the standpoint of the two largest markets going head to head, you know, in baseball. But at the same time, like, I don't care to watch teams that, you know, buy their wins rather than, you know, put a product on the field that, you know, is home built, you know,
I
rather
don't
than
want to hear it. I don't want to hear it because the Cubs did the same exact thing. You'd be cheering for them.
Yeah, that's how. I mean, isn't that kind of what the Cubs did when they brought in John Lester?
Again, my team. The Yankees, like, I'm always going to hate the Yankees. It's like hating the Lakers. Like, it's like I said, you know, there's certain teams where you sit there and look at them and you just go, like, I hate them because they are who they are.
So do you hate Golden State as well?
No, I didn't really hate Golden. I hated Golden State once they bought KD. But when it was Steph, Draymond, and Clay, those dudes were drafted. The team was built. But yeah, once they sold out and brought KD in, I was kind of like, nah, now you're big three in this, like, LeBron, get the hell out of here. I want nothing to do with you.
See, that's a bad mentality because all you're doing is trying to improve your team. All you do. So basically, if the Bears did bring in Myles Garrett, you'd be like, oh, fuck those guys. I can't believe they brought this guy in. They brought in Keenan Allen.
Well,
they paid him some money.
I don't.
You're improving your team.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I hated the Patriots, but like, I really don't look at any NFL teams like that other than the Packers, just because, like, you got 52 men on a roster, and like it's more than just, you know, like NBA. It's 5 guys on a court. You know, it's, you really, like, by the time you get to that 12th guy, they don't matter. You know, so it's, if you have 4 all-stars, like, you know, KD, Steph, Dre, Clay, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're guaranteeing yourself almost a championship.
So you're, by definition, you would hate the Celtics.
Which, the Celtics right now?
No, the Celtics of the 80s, because they had 4 Hall of Famers on their team.
But again, were they drafted to the team?
No.
Or were they bought?
No, I mean, there was no buying at that point. They just
exactly
player. They didn't draft
McHale and the team for drafting the, you know, amazingly. You can't fault them on that. But if, like, Miami, when they pulled the big 3 and they brought in LeBron and Bosh and whatever, no, I fucking hate that shit. It's, to me, it's, huh?
You still have to play. So basically, you're saying that because at the time there was a lot of discussion: is LeBron going to come here? Is D Wade going to come here? Because they were all a package deal. That was so. You're going to tell me if LeBron came to the Bulls and then D Wade and Bosh, you'd be like, "Fuck those guys." I'm not going to enjoy my favorite team because they're
Derrick Rose.
I've already said the exception
with
is
MVP Derrick Rose.
But see, that's a silly ass mentality. If it's, you know, if I get steak and lobster, I like it. But if that guy gets steak and lobster, he's a dickhead. That's bullshit. It's such a shit mentality.
Copy my order, you dickhead.
It's such bullshit. It's such
No,
bullshit.
It's the perfect mentality. My team is the exception to the rule.
So you're hating on the Dodgers for finding a loophole that's been around for 30, 40 years.
Don't even bring that shit up.
Why? Why? If the Pirates have done it, Cincinnati has done it, the Mets have done it, they're all paying their players 10, 15, 20 years later. You're just mad because the Cubs didn't do it for Shohei?
The funny thing is, I hope it bites them in the ass so bad in 10 years from now. Like, that's all I hope. I just
hope of exposure this man gets in 1 year that he's not even pitching. They've made that tenfold by the time that contract's over.
Again, I just hope it bites them in the ass 10 years from now. And
guess what?
You know,
a World Series can't bite nobody because that ring is forever. So if they win the World Series with Shohei, I'm happy because guess what? For years, for like 10 years, we watched Mike Trout be the best player in baseball, and he's stuck in fucking purgatory on the Angels, right?
Poor guy.
That is also partly his fault. He could have signed somewhere else, and he ended up.
No.
No way. You can't dare sign a free agent to your team to make them better. How dare would you ever do that? What the fuck is wrong with you? That's absurd, sir. Why would you ever say that out loud?
As long as he doesn't go to the Yankees.
Fuck out of here. Bullshit. The biggest little bullshit.
He can go to the Guardians. He can go to the Orioles. There's many teams out there. You don't just have to sign with the Yankees or the Dodgers.
So now you're saying that it's his fault for being loyal.
Dude, there's a point to be loyal, and then there's a point to be like, this is never gonna happen here, and I'm being wasted. Like at some point as a player, you have to look at that too. Like, dude, if I want to win, I do have to go somewhere else.
Isn't that what KD did? Like the definition of what KD did?
No, not to that tune.
It's exactly the same. That's exactly the same that KD did. I can't
KD
win.
was wasted in OKC.
That's the literal definition of what you just said. If he would have stayed in OKC and they never won, it's his fault. He should have went to a team where he could have won. But it's Trout's fault for staying home.
Right. And dude, here's the thing. To me, it's a bitch move to go to the 3-time champs.
They weren't I think they won the third one after he got there.
Again, it's a bitch move because you're literally saying there, I can't win. Dude, OKC had a great team. And they couldn't win.
Gone. He was the only one left.
I'm saying when they were younger, when
they were too dumb and young to win. They were too dumb and young to win at that point. Your rationale would be like Karl Malone. You got to the finals 2 years in a row, couldn't win it. Guess what? I'm going to go to the Lakers. That rationale, I understand. End of his career, not really doing anything. He's hanging out by the coattails of everyone else's talent. That I understand. KD was in his prime. He's like, you know what? OKC, small market, not going to win. You know what? If you can't beat him, join him. Let me get a ring. And he's still good. He's still good. Now, is he a head case? Yes, but he's still good.
And I do agree, but I'm more towards the latter, where at the end of your career going somewhere to get that ring, yes. But like I said, like again, KD was in his prime. Like you're telling me you couldn't have gone to, I don't know, dude, name a team, Toronto with Kawhi at the time or whoever and won a ring there? Like you really had to team up with the 3-time champs? Like, wouldn't you feel more satisfied beating a good team rather than joining them?
No.
At the end of the day, I got a ring.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
My job is to win.
I don't know. I put an asterisk on that shit because I hit 72 home runs, but I juiced the balls.
Hey, how many times in baseball do you hire a hired bat at the end of the season, right? You trade for a hired bat, a hired pitcher, a bullpen arm. You try to win. Your job is to win in sports. So you're going to do the most you can to get the best players you can. And if KD's available, fucking get KD. I know the Bulls fan base would not be pissed off if we had KD. Simple as that. So at the end of the day, it makes no sense. Because if we had LeBron, if we had Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and we had Derrick Rose,
I don't know. I just think, and I have a problem in general with the NBA nowadays. I just have a general whatever with the NBA nowadays where everybody's best friends. Like I like the days of Jordan where like, look, we're not best friends. I fucking hate you on the court. Like
I get that, but the NBA is a business now, rather than when they were barely growing the business.
Here we
now
go.
We're like,
everybody's a brand.
It's a different world, man. It's a different world. Back in the day, we can say racist stuff. Now we can't say racist stuff.
Here's the question I have for you.
You sure about that?
Depends on who you vote for. After every single football game that you see, both quarterbacks shake hands. You see them you can literally watch them making.
Unless you're Tom Brady and you're going against Nick Foles. Yep.
What? Nick Foles and Tom Brady. That's because Tom Brady's bitter.
Yeah. Tom Brady's a bitter bitch. But look, but every at the end of every NFL game, you see them getting together, talking, making plans for dinner. Oh yeah, I'll see you later. Blah blah blah. Those guys are bitches too because they have friends. They play the same sport. They could have played in college together. They see each other. They train together. They have the same agent. Whatever it is, they're just look. As long as while the game is going on, you are for your team and you're doing what you can for your team, there's no reason that you can't be friends after the fact. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to beat my friend's ass more than some guy I don't know because I want to have the bragging rights.
Yeah, give me the Ndamukong and Sue attitude. There's a video clip of him working out in like the off season, and like somebody walked up to him and was like trying to dap him up. He's like, "We're not fucking friends. Like, I don't like you. You're on a different team."
He also like stepped on a dude's head, so fuck that guy.
Yeah,
he's like,
give me that mentality, bro. We hate everyone.
That's a piss poor attitude. Jesus Christ. That's perfect for you because you're a fucking hater. When I showed you stats about how good Caleb was playing, you're like, yeah, but that one interception. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, could you how are you going to find the most negative
people? Let me explain something for mental health. Month. Big E is a huge bully in the group chat.
Ooh.
And he affects my mental health every week. And it's brutal. About? I think I need to dial 988 and have a conversation with somebody.
That's a great idea. You should, because you're depressed with all that depressing ass shit you talk about. That's a great idea.
I listen to emo music. What are we talking about?
That is
this
true.
Is known.
You and Stevie deserve each other. You should go and argue.
I miss Stevie. Stevie, if you're listening, why aren't you on? I miss you.
He's probably arguing with that fucking Deadpool, the animatronic Deadpool thing.
Hey, that's pretty cool, man.
So we have a Deadpool pinball game that we made years ago, and I've seen people put we have what's called a topper. It's usually interactive with the game and things like that. I've seen people use that as a topper for their game, and then they're like being in the middle of the game. And then talking, and you see the Deadpool face talk. It's kind of creepy because it's just a fucking head, and it's like real human head size. So it is a little freaky because of the way that Deadpool wears that mask. You just see the face, the mouth moving. It definitely freaked me out when I was over there, but it is cool. I got to give him that.
All right, boys, it is getting long in the tooth, and your boys got to get ready for work, and I'm pretty sure you guys do too. I know we're gonna skip over.
So quickly, stirring the pot. Yes, I would eat meat with a name on it.
Hold on. So here's the context of that conversation.
Oh, no. Let's not start that whole thing because that's going to do another 30 minutes onto this.
This is pretty funny. So basically, this was something that I found online, and it was basically a steak at a supermarket, Scotch fillet steak for $19. It looks like this was. I gotta guess this is overseas somewhere. But on this steak package, it has a picture of a cow, and it says, "My name was Chloe. I wanted to live. Your personal choice killed me. Don't buy it." So this is basically a piece of steak with a face on it. And the question is, would you still eat this? Now, JC already said yes, he would eat it. I mean, look, I'm eating steak. You're not gonna putting the face of the cow in this thing. Back when I smoked cigarettes and I had my buddy Roger who's passed away. His parents were from Poland, and they would get, for some reason, his pops would smoke for Virginia Slims. I just recently found out that his pops passed away, so R.I.P. To him. But so we would be over at his house, and he pulled out this pack of Virginia Slims that he stole from his pops. And because it came from Poland, it had a big fucking warning label, and it says, whatever the fuck it said in Polish, but essentially translated to "this will kill you," and like the picture of the
cancer, whatever. Yes.
Guess what? I was still ripping those fucking cigarettes. I didn't give a shit at the time. I was young and I was in the 20s and things like that. But yeah, putting the face of a cow on the steak isn't like, "My name is Chloe. Thanks, Chloe. That was delicious." Like,
but that's the funny thing is, like, the person who put that sticker on there is some vegan walking through the grocery store and they have a pocket full of those stickers and they just slap it on anything. You know what? I don't care. Slap it on there. I don't care if it's Joe, Jim, Johnny, Chloe, whatever. Just because you slap a sticker on it doesn't mean I'm going to stop eating meat.
This is kind of like those "Let's Go Brandon" stickers they put at the gas pump, or the one that says "I did that."
Oh my God.
That's the exact same thing. That's the exact same thing. So anyway, on this is a meme, by the way. On the comment, it says, like I said, it says, "My name is Chloe. I wanted to live. Your personal choice killed me." And the comment says, "I would look for one with my name on it, like those Coca-Cola bottles." Come on.
That's so bogus. That is so bogus. That is so bogus.
I want to look for one that says JC, just so we can have a nice barbecue out there.
Oh my God. All right, Israel, we're about to sign off anyways.
And then when you do, I'm going to tell you how was my meat.
Oh boy.
I mean, ask the girl that. I'm the only one that's married here. I mean, come on.
I'm just saying, you're the one saying you want to eat JC's meat, so
I never said that. I just said
usually Steve walks into those
you would
jokes.
go find a package with JC on it. So
yeah, like the Coca-Cola. Look at this guy.
No.
He's so desperate to get someone to touch his meat. He's over here trying to go through the internet. What's going on here?
I'm just saying, you got some weird desires.
Usually,
we'll have to. We're gonna call 988, and we're gonna have them let you sort you out.
oh
I'm gonna
boy.
call
Israel said your meat might be good, so maybe you need to talk to Israel.
You got to take her. You got to take her.
You got to take her.
A5 Wagyu over here.
He said you are a USDA choice. So there you go. You got a fan.
Then on Prime, baby.
All right. All right, y'all. That is it for today. Thank you for listening. Thank you to E-Rock, the OG, JC, Dynasty Fantasy Football, and to you, our fans, our listeners, our watchers. Thank you for sticking with us for 216 episodes. And thank you to our sponsors, 606 Media, True Chicago Sports Fans, and Grit Clothing Company. You know what to do when you go to thegritclothingco.com and get your shirts. Check us out on social media. You can find us on Facebook, IG, Spotify, TikTok, everything. And if you have a stirring pot topic or a sports topic to talk about, hit us up on True Chicago Sports Fans at gmail.com. All right, so for E-Rock, JC, I am Big Z. We'll see you next time for episode 217. And until then, be good to each other for the love of sports.
Swish.
There you go.